Welcome back to Music Theory Logic. Andrew here, and today is just a little technical side note slash like journal for those of you who might be interested in upgrading your system. But until recently, I've been working on a 2013 Mac Pro model. I ran that system for approximately like 8 years, and then I had a crash, and the people working on my computer weren't exactly sure what was wrong. So they sold me a refurbished unit, and it's been working well for me. There's like certain problems that I have on that system, and through just fate, as fate would have it, I was looking at a lot of these new like Apple silicone chips, and I had been working for a client who actually happens to be like one of the managers of an Apple store here in San Diego, and he was gracious enough to help get me this system and get me a good rate on it. So super thankful for that. And because of that, I wanted to just get the best system I could at that moment, which at the time was an M2 Max MacBook Pro that I got. And my specific specs are I have a terabyte solid state hard drive, I've got 32 gigabytes of RAM, and there's no doubt that this system is completely overkill for what most of you would need. But to give you an idea of my own workflow, I am using Logic Pro, and I am using a ton of different instruments, and some can be pretty CPU heavy. So in the electronic realm, I'll use Serum from Extra Records. I will use a lot of heavy sample-based instruments like from East West. I use Universal Audio. I have an Apollo 8 interface, and so I use UADs. And this is basically like 3 months into using this new system, and I'm super happy with it. And I'll go through kind of the different things. So my former, like the Mac Pro I mentioned, was on a Thunderbolt 2 setup. I believe that is correct. And Apple went away from that, and they went to the USB-C, which I think we also call Thunderbolt 3 or 4. It's hard to keep track, but it's a different port. And so I knew that I would have to use an adapter to plug into my interface. And I was kind of concerned about that because adapters just seem kind of like sketchy to me, and then I wouldn't want to like rely on those. But in that realm, it's been perfect. I am recording this video on said MacBook Pro. I'm plugged in via my adapter into my Apollo stuff, and I have had no issues at all. The only issue of anything I've done on this system has to do with auto-tune, and it was in a busy session already. I had issues on my former system with some of the auto-tunes. This is like Universal Audio's UAD auto-tune. And I don't know what the root of those problems are, but I basically will try to like bounce those tracks in place, and I've still been able to use it. I just have shied away from using it in a busy session. Besides that, I've created like super busy sessions with East-West stuff, using Waves plugins and Universal Audio stuff, Arturia instruments, Serum, all this stuff at the same time, tracks that would definitely bog down or like slow down my former system. And this thing is just an absolute machine. It's completely quiet. It's got the added feature that it's portable, which is kind of wild. I again went with like a Mac Pro way back when, just because it seemed to me like the laptops, since I didn't need to be mobile, that I would get more power out of the Mac Pro. And I was really happy with that system. Again, I ran it for basically a decade. But this new M2 Max is an absolute beast. Highly recommend it. I'm not the like computer wizard or expert on specs, but I do know this is like a lot more than I necessarily need. But for me, I have found that like I use and rely on my computer for my job, and anytime I've had really drastic like computer problems, it is super frustrating, and practically speaking, it's difficult to get around because I'll be like out of work for a week or 2 weeks. And again, I still have my Mac Pro working, so I like being able to like have two systems where I could get like bare essentials done should the MacBook Pro have any problems. But yeah, I like to plan for the future and have systems for a while, and so I wanted to just spec this out, and I do the live video streams. If you have any questions out there, this is kind of a specific sort of thing, but I had tried to research like the M2 Max and are all my plugins and stuff going to work in the adapter? And I couldn't find anything. So maybe there's people in similar situations to me that this will help. But yeah, everything is working really well, and it's really hard to even put into words like how much more powerful this system is than my former Mac Pro. And the price point on this was close to like half of what I spent on the Mac Pro in 2013, which is kind of wild, pretty cool. Highly recommend it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. And yeah, the final word of advice I will say is that like not all plugin companies are up to this silicone. You can use what's called Rosetta 2, which will run plugins that aren't built to be on Apple silicone. I have shied away from any of that stuff just because I'm confident that those developers will get up to speed. And so basically read into your plugins as to whether or not they operate natively on Apple silicone. But if you found this helpful, you'd help me out by subscribing. Hopefully you are enjoying your system, or hopefully this helped you decide whether or not to get one. Cheers.